Kim, K-I-M, Peterson. They call me the Kimmer. I'm an ex-Marine, Vietnam veteran, and I do News Radio 106.7 talk show noon to 3. And I'm here because of what they're doing from the friend of the Marine, Skip, who was killed, murdered by the Muslim in Chattanooga. And so we're having a fundraiser where his buddy told me about the fundraiser out here, so we had a bunch of things on my website, and I talked about it on the radio yesterday, Friday afternoon. And so people come out giving money for his mother. He was her only child, and she's a single mom, so now she's all alone. And we don't know. I don't think there was much in the way of an annuity or a grant to her because her son was engaged, and I assume that his life insurance policy probably was in the name of his fiance. But anyway, she's a Cobb County school bus driver, and I heard about that and said, well, we got to do something about this. So there was a guy named Nate, who's that guy in the hat and the black shirt over there, who went to the ball game yesterday, Braves game, raised money and brought in a big fat wad of cash today here. A lot of stores are donating proceeds and profits. Anyway, so it's a fundraiser, people dropping off money for Skip's mom. Anyway, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and where can our readers go to perhaps donate to these fundraisers?
Well, actually, off the top of my head, the best thing to do, if they want to go to my Facebook page, the Kimmer Show Facebook page, K-I-M-M-E-R, the Kimmer Show, and we have a list of companies that are donating. There's a couple, I can't remember the name of them, there's a couple of religious groups who are donating proceeds and profits and so forth. But if they go to the Kimmer Show Facebook page, they can look up things on that way and do that.
And when you first heard about the tragedy in Chattanooga earlier this week, what was your initial reaction?
I was furious. I wanted to kill, and I don't mind saying it. I said on my show yesterday, what first thing out of my mouth was that I'm so mad I want to avenge those Marines. It's another 9/11. This was another 9/11. July 16th was another 9/11 when a Muslim, through pure hatred of Americans, the infidels, butchered Marines who were sitting ducks. They were unarmed. They were just sitting in a work center in the Marine Corps Navy Center, and he butchered them, slaughtered them, and thank God he was killed. But I was furious, and I'm remaining furious. And as far as I'm concerned, well, the more who die to avenge Skip's and all the other Marines' death, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
And do you think anything could have been done to perhaps have prevented the tragedy from occurring?
Yeah, if they had armed guards, and if those guys were allowed to be armed, the dipshits of the Defense Department have not allowed weapons. They're gun-free zones at recruiting stations, naval reserve centers, outside of places near bases, but outside the base. I mean, any place where there's recruiting offices are not allowed to have guns. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How could the United States? One of the Marines killed was a double combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient, and how in the world could a combat veteran like myself not be allowed to have a gun anywhere, anytime? There should be no such thing as gun-free zones for members of the Marines or military, for that matter, who have been through active duty, and especially who have been in a combat zone. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's stupid, it's ridiculous, and it's because of President Putty-Tat, as I call him, Obama, the coward of the White House. He hates guns, he hates cops, and he thinks white people are responsible for all the problems of the community. Just for the record, when he showed up in Charleston, he used the speech for the funeral of the pastor in Charleston to lobby once again for his political policies. In the pulpit at the funeral, he was talking about politics of gun control, and yet he hasn't said a damn word. He hasn't used the word Marine, as far as I know, to this minute, and I'll guarantee you he's not going to show up for the funerals of those Marines. That's a disgrace, absolute disgrace. He's a coward, he's a chicken, and I can't wait for him to get out of office. And I respect the office of the presidency, but this guy is a political hack. He's a coward and another more, and then I'll stop. Remember Sergeant Tamaresi, who went down to Mexico, took a wrong turn, ended up in Mexico, and he didn't mean to. He was tortured and kept for almost a year in Mexican jails. They strung him up by his hands and feet, naked. So when he went to the bathroom, he had to just go and not be able to do anything about it. They beat him. They tortured him for months and months. Putty-Tat never did a damn thing, never mentioned his name. Even when the president of Mexico came to the White House for a meeting, Putty-Tat never even brought it up. He never mentioned it. To this day, has not mentioned his name, has not mentioned anything. He didn't do anything, tried to get him back. And yet he put his arms around Bo Bergdahl's parents at the White House, saying all parents should have their son back home, even though he knew Bo Bergdahl was a deserter. under enemy fire in a combat zone, a deserter walked away to the enemy, I'd have shot him. I was a sergeant in the Marines, I'd have shot him. Period. I mean, but this president is a disgrace, absolute disgrace.
And how has the attack in Chattanooga changed your perspectives on the war on terror?
Does it? It's here. The fact that, man, we're not doing anything the right way. We're not going after ISIS. We're reacting to ISIS. But this won't affect anything. It won't do a damn thing other than I've got 2 guns on me right now, and I'm armed at all times. And I'm not taking any chances. I don't trust them. These lone wolves will do anything in the name of Allah. And like they slaughtered those Marines. Nothing's changed in the war on terror. We're not winning the war on terror. It's a joke. Absolute joke.
And have you had an opportunity to speak to Mr. Wells' family since his tragedy?
No, I haven't. His mother's collecting his body right now, and she's a single mom, and this was her only child. So I haven't talked to her, but maybe, I think there's a memorial service Tuesday, a candlelight vigil, I think, in Sprayberry High Tuesday evening at 7, I think. His buddy Nolan may know more about that.
And for the local community, what would you say is perhaps the best way to honor Skip's legacy?
Get yourself a gun, fly the flag, act like patriots, and make sure that people know my message is I'm not taking it. I'm not going to sit here and lie down, and if they want to bring the fight to me, I'm in.
Okay.
Anyway.
And lastly, if you could have said anything to the man who murdered Mr. Wells, what would you have said to him?
Well, I'd have shoved his butt full of bacon, and I would have said, "You're about to roast in hell, you son of a bitch," and pulled the trigger. Several times. Anyway.